Hello, my name's Tom Singer. This is Concert Cues, and we're for the concert on, what month is this? October 23rd, this Saturday. We're featuring a Native American dance that you've got a lot to do with. I understand you choreographed it. This is Ruben Littlehead. Welcome.
Thank you, Tom. And yes, good morning. First of all, I'd like to introduce myself as my Indian name. My name is Mitkonis. Mitkonis Nanehun. Mitkonis Naashave.
I'm glad you didn't ask me to say that.
Yeah. Munadanshive. That's how you say, what's your Indian name? But after we're done here, maybe I'll give you one.
Okay, that'd be great.
Joking. Yes, I'm very excited to be here, Tom. In conjunction with the Billings Symphony, with the orchestra, and with the crew, that I assembled and called upon, just ready to deliver a performance that hopefully will be educational.
That's great. So how many dancers will be performing?
There'll be seven total, including two fancy, traditional, grass, and then we have the two ladies, jingle fancy, and then we also have a hoop dancer as well.
Okay. Yes. So I understand you grew up in Lame Deer.
Yes.
You're a Montana kid.
Born and raised.
How did you get into this world of dance? That's fascinating.
That's a good question. I've been around it all my life. At a young age, my late grandmother, both my late grandmothers took me around to powwows and kept me involved with my culture, my language, and my stories, which is where this is kind of derived from. As far as we as Native people, we have oral traditions, oral histories, and a lot of our knowledge and wisdom is passed through storytelling. And our ways of expression of stories is through our songs and through our dances. And so, on the powwow trail, different powwows, celebrations, gatherings, and then even into the stage, we as Native people, we bring that art of storytelling. We bring that energy, that spirit, and just the way that we express ourselves, hoping to retell that story and to educate those. So
the concert tonight, Saturday night, has an interesting name, and where's that? What's the story there?
Buffalo Crossing. In Cheyenne, it's Hitoa. In Hitoa, it's not crossing, but like buffalo walking, like buffalo crossing. What it is it's an interpret of like Cheyenne people, Northern Cheyenne people were a plains tribe, and we followed the buffalo, and we have a lot of respect for the buffalo. And in history, even in Cheyenne, in our histories, we have a real direct connection with the buffalo. And we have a story called The Great Race, in which the buffalo and the Cheyenne were going to find out who was going to be the dominant. And it was in a time where the Cheyenne could speak to the animals and the animals could speak to us. We could understand one another. But that's another chapter, another story. But Buffalo Crossing, what I want to, how the name came about is just everything that the buffalo encompasses. It's in our ceremonies, it's in our social circles, our ceremonial circles, and we utilize that buffalo in every aspect of our life.
And so you're bringing it here to the symphony.
Yes.
How does that happen? Why would you do that?
Well, we live in a time of a lot of non-natives, a lot of non-Indians kind of want to understand our culture. They have a respect for it, and they kind of have a thirst for it and an understanding. So through our expressions of song and dance, I've called upon these dancers, and they were all hand-picked, hand-selected. Most of them have theater experience, stage experience, but at the same time, they're also champions in their own category of dance. Men's traditional, Nathan Chasing Horse, a movie actor, as well as a stage choreographer, performer, art. He's a very talented artist, but his traditional dance is top notch. And that's what I want to bring to this stage, so that people can view and see some top-notch dancers. Doug Schofield, Wintu tribe from Northern California. He is like the code lead of American Indian Dance Theater, where I got a lot of my experience from when he brought me onto his company, American Indian Dance Theater, years ago. It was just the energy and the whole portrayal of what we're trying to teach and what we're trying to express to the crowd. Douglas Schofield, a Trey Little Sky, one of the best dancers out there in Indian country. Walter Runsabove, fancy dancer as well as the flutist. Tremendous flute player, and he's playing the flute with the orchestra. And then we got the ladies, right? We got Josie Little Sky, Trey's wife, one of the top fancy shawl dancers in Indian country, U.S. and Canada. Very talented, and she's also a co-producer of the Great Plains Dance Theater, her and her husband, Trey. And then Cassia Red Elk, Tom. Cassia Red Elk, 17, 18-time world champion, jingle dress. And her style, and she travels the world. She travels internationally, as an ambassador of cultural awareness. And she's a very outspoken, very outgoing, optimistic, just positive. Her energy, you'll see, Tom, on Saturday night, her energy is just boom. And then we have the hoop dancer, right? Jasmine Bell, just very talented, very talented young lady.
So the different types of dancing you're talking about, are those traditions from different tribes, or are they, is it like people doing the minuet and the waltz?
Good question. That's a very good question. You're looking at these different categories of the men and the women. There are certain categories that the women dance and the men dance. Now, if you want to identify it to one tribe, that's kind of hard to do, whereas nowadays, the last century or so, we adopt a lot of dances. We adopt a lot of other tribes' styles. Same with the singing. We have like intertribal social singing where we can sing one another's songs. There is a time and place to sing certain songs. There is a time and place to dance certain dances. But here it's kind of like a collaboration. It's kind of like a compilation of all these different tribes coming together. So the different ones that I selected are the ones that I felt that could better bring the energy, bring the spirit in what I wanted, and what I envisioned.
So these dances, at least I haven't seen an awful lot of Native American dance, but what I've seen, it's usually typically just drumming and maybe some flute. Here you've got a whole symphony orchestra. What have you choreographed it to? How'd you pick the music? What's special about it?
I want to give a shout out to Doug Schofield too, and I know he's sitting in the back over here too, and he said, let Ruben do, I'll do it. But Doug is a very talented choreographer. And at the same time, along with Ann and along with Ignacio, it's about bridging the two different musicals to kind of merge together and recognize their talents of that music and our traditional drum of the buffalo drum. Okay. And in doing so, the dancers are in rhythm. They say that the drum is our heartbeat. It's the heartbeat, because when you see us dance, it's not that Hollywood. You know what I mean? It's two beats. It's two beats, just like our heart, and one is a little bit more stressed than the other. Yeah, it's a thump, and you'll see that in the rhythm, and you'll see that as the dancers move, especially the grass dancers that'll mirror the left, they'll mirror the right. The traditional that tells his story while keeping beat with his feet on the ground. And then, of course, the fancy, the jingle, they all have similar moves, but they're very unique to that style. it's so hard to wrap up here in this 20-minute interview, but you know.
Well, I feel like I'm trying to ask somebody to teach me how to do ballet
Right.
in 20 minutes, and and that's obviously not possible. But the traditional element of it is really interesting, and I've never had a chance to talk to somebody about it. Like jingle dancing, does that mean there's some kind of jingle there, or does that have some other different?
There are jingles outside of the dress.
Okay.
Yep, and they symbolize different meanings. From the Anishinaabe people, it comes through a dream that this young girl had, and it's a healing dance. It's a medicine dance. And at the same time as it evolved into the powwow circle, into the competition mode, the original old style, they call it, you know, versus the more contemporary. The more moves, the more energetic, the more athleticism, the different feathers, the different brighter colors. There's so much that go into it, but the true essence of that jingle dress is the medicine and the healing that comes from it.
So you know, I've often compared music to a language that most people don't understand, or that you understand at some level that's not articulable. And you talk about the story in these performances. Is it the same kind of thing where it isn't like one day Mary got up and this is what she did? It's not a story like that. It's a different kind of story, isn't it?
Kind of, Tom. There are certain songs that are composed and made that are for a traditional dancer, maybe a warrior, a veteran. And those kind of songs will talk about, you know, about battle, or about enemy, about tracking. There are certain songs in there that honor the women, and use language, native language, in the song. Most of the time, the songs are sung in a vocable melody, kind of like the orchestra that plays. There's no one singing, you know, that kind of thing. But the instruments are all coming together and making a beautiful sound. As the same with those singers around that drum. There's 5 singers, 1 drum, there's 5 sticks they use, but they all sing together to create one song, one voice.
That's why it's called a symphony, right?
Yes, sir. Yep.
Fascinating. I want to veer off for just a second. This isn't your main gig. This is a sidelight for you.
Right. However, though, last year when we first, you know, kicked the idea and put the proposal together, I was putting a lot of time and energy into it, working with Devin and Ann, Ignacio, Matthew, and then putting together and getting all the system right. But right now I'm a full-time college basketball coach, Bacone College, Muskogee, Oklahoma. And so
you're an Okie from Muskogee.
I'm an Okie from Muskogee, and I can really say that. You know, we're a 4-year NAIA Division I school, and I'm just thrilled to have that position, but also keep my commitment here, and to fulfill my obligation, what I started here, and to see it through and finish it. And I'm excited to be here. It took me planes, trains, and automobiles to get here, Tom.
I understand that you showed up just a minute or two before
I tell you what, man,
this.
yep, the flights got canceled. You know, the bus broke down. You know, the wagon that the Amish was pulling me in, you know, the horse killed over. You know, finally we had to rent a car.
I see. You are good at storytelling. Okay, I got it. Does basketball coach, is there a connection between basketball and dance?
There is. You know, my background is education, Tom, and I'm a teacher. I've taught at our tribal school in Busby, Montana for a few years, and also at St. Lebre. Being a coach, it helps me to work with young minds and young scholar athletes to teach them fundamentals of life, fundamentals of the game, fundamentals of life. And in dance, I'm a father of 4. All my children dance. My oldest boy's a fancy dancer. Ruben Jr. is a traditional dancer. My daughter is a fancy / jingle / traditional. She wants to do all 3, right? Actually, she wants to fancy a Jiggo, but Dad wants her to be a Cheyenne traditional dancer. And then my little guy, he's a chicken dancer. So there's different styles. So teaching them about culture, tradition, history, and hopefully that they take that and create pride and identity. And that's what I hope to come out of this production, is to educate and to really strengthen our identity once again, with our native ways.
Well, and symphonic music, most of it, not all, has a centuries-long history.
Yep.
And your tradition goes back much further.
Yes, sir.
It's interesting to put them together. Have you done this before? Do you know of anybody else who's tried to do this?
I don't know for sure. This might be the first time that I'm aware of. I don't know of any other. Maybe Doug does or somebody else. But
so this came out. I mean, whose idea was this? Were you approached about it, or?
Devin Wertman. I wanna recognize him as well too, because he reached out to me. We visited over the phone a few times. So Devin, he is my nephew. Somewhere along there, he comes from the Bear Tusk family, okay. and my grandma was a Bear Tusk too. His grandpa, great grandpa, and my grandpa was the late Kenneth Bear Tusk. Kenneth Bear Tusk was a long-time announcer, Emcee for our home people and our home tribe in Lame Deer. Since his passing, the Power Grounds are named after him, Kenneth Bear Tusk Memorial Power Grounds. But his emceeing, his announcing, and his storytelling, I've always looked up to that, admired that, and somewhere in that bloodline, I think it came through me.
It sounds like it. I'm very excited to see what your dancers are going to do with this on Saturday night.
Yeah, but how it came about too is, once we started and got going, I sat back and took a deep breath, and I thought of a lot of things. And one of the first people I thought of was Doug Schofield. And Doug was actually here since Sunday, help filling in for me and helping out with some of the choreography. And we had a outreach at Lockwood. So we did an assembly out there, outreach. But getting Doug on with his experience, and we've been friends for many years as well. And then I started reaching out to some of these other performers. One, because of their championship caliber. Two, because of their experience. Three, their persona, their just their whole character, their what they encompass as a dancer.
Yeah. Well, we're going to have to wrap it up.
Okay.
I'm delighted to get to know a little bit about you and about your program. Look forward to seeing you Saturday night.
Last but not least, we cannot do any of this without the drum. Okay?
Without the drum.
We can be out here dancing around and with no music, and it's not the same. We got to have that heartbeat. Okay, so I want to give a shout out to Robert Simpson, one of my singers, Michael Spears. I want to give a shout out to Mile One Arrow. I want to give a shout out to Sean Omouse and Joe Wood, Joe Amiaso, Joe Wood. 5 of the top singers in Indian country, U.S. and Canada. Those 5 right here, I'm very honored to work with them. I'm very honored that they're here joining us, and I'm just very glad they're here, because without anything, you got to have the drum. You got to have the song.
Got to have the drum, and we got to have you. Thank you for being with me.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir. Thanks, Tom.